Yeah, yeah, Mr. Cyber. Man, Mr. Cyber, fuck him up. Mr. Cyber, fuck him.
Please don't ask me for some shit that you wouldn't do for me. Please. Stop looking at me like I'm a motherfucking ATM machine. You don't know what a motherfucker had to go through the sacrifice.
On a quiet night in Milwaukee, something unbelievably tragic unfolded. A father stepped outside his home to ask a neighbor to lower the music. Just a simple request. The kind of thing people do every day without thinking twice. But within minutes, gunshots shattered the night, and 2 lives were gone. One of them belonged to a woman who was 7 months pregnant. 3 lives ended over what many say started as nothing more than a noise complaint. The victims were 33-year-old Giovonni McVicker and his girlfriend, 31-year-old Mya Tolbert. They were parents. They were partners. And they were preparing to welcome another child into the world. But before we continue, I want you to pause for a second. Stories like this matter because they remind us how quickly life can change. So if you believe these stories deserve to be told and remembered, take a moment to like this video, subscribe, and click the bell so you never miss an upload from Shadow Crime. It really helps the channel continue telling these stories. Now imagine this with me. It was the night of March 9th, 2026, on the north side of Milwaukee. The area near Green Tree Road and Darien Street is mostly quiet at night. Families live there. Kids play in the yards during the day. For people like Giovonni McVicker, home was supposed to be a place where his children could sleep peacefully. Those who knew Giovonni describe him as someone who cared deeply about his family. He was the kind of father who tried to keep things stable and calm for his kids. Friends say he was protective and responsible, someone who tried to handle problems without violence. Mya Tolbert was just as devoted to family life. At 31 years old, she was already a mother and was now 7 months pregnant with another child she and Giovonni were excited to meet. Family members later said the couple had been preparing for the baby together, talking about the future and building their life as a family. To them, this night was supposed to be just another ordinary evening. But according to reports and statements from family members, the peace of the neighborhood was interrupted by loud music coming from a nearby home. It was late, and Giovanni's children were trying to sleep. Most parents know that moment. The house finally gets quiet. The kids are settling down, and you're hoping the night stays peaceful. So Giovanni did what many people might do. He went outside to speak with the neighbor. The request, according to those close to the victims, was simple. Turn the music down. That was it. But sometimes the smallest interactions can turn into something far more dangerous. Somewhere between that conversation and the next few minutes, something escalated. Words may have been exchanged. Tempers may have flared. And before anyone nearby truly understood what was happening, gunfire rang out into the night. Neighbors would later say they heard multiple shots. When police arrived, they found Giovonni McVicker and Mya Tolbert outside, both suffering from gunshot wounds. Neither of them survived. And just like that, a quiet Milwaukee street became the scene of a tragedy that would shock family members, neighbors, and eventually people across the country who would hear about the case. But what makes this case even more disturbing is how quickly it happened. Because what started as a request to lower music had somehow turned into a deadly confrontation. And investigators would soon begin asking a chilling question. How does a simple neighbor dispute end with 3 lives lost? As detectives began piecing together the timeline of that night, another detail would emerge that made the situation even more heartbreaking.
Milwaukee police arrested a man accused of killing a young expecting couple. This is 31-year-old Mya Tolbert and 33-year-old Giovonni McVicker. Family tell us they were dating and Tolbert was pregnant.
The double shooting happened last night near Teutonia and Green Tree. 12 News' Kendall Keys is there live for us tonight. And Kendall, you recently spoke with McVicker's family today.
Ray Blake, they're heartbroken, and they tell me he leaves behind 5 children and was expecting his 6th with his girlfriend, who was also killed here last night. And they say this all happened after an argument over music. A Ring doorbell capturing the sound of more than 10 gunshots. Seconds later, more gunfire. Just before 10:30 Monday night, someone shot and killed a couple outside the apartments near Teutonia and Green Tree.
You getting a call that he's no longer here. How? I was just with him. I was just with my brother.
Family identifying the victims to 12 News as 33-year-old Giovonni McVicker and his girlfriend, 31-year-old Mya Tolbert.
She matched my brother. I'm just going to say that they matched each other energy. And they loved each other for years.
McVicker's sister says Giovonni was a father to 5 with number 6 on the way. The couple preparing to welcome their third child together. Tolbert, 7 months pregnant at the time of the shooting.
He took 3 lives and senseless. It was overkill. The way he did my little cousin was horrible.
12 News at the scene late Monday observing a shattered window and evidence markers littering the street and sidewalk. Detectives going in and out of the building shining flashlights. McVicker's family says the shooting happened after he asked a neighbor to turn his music down.
This all happened over him simply asking for them to turn the music down. So it's senseless. This is really heartbreaking for us.
You can feel the pain there in her voice. Kendall, police arrested someone at the scene last night.
You're right, Blake, a 27-year-old man. They stayed here at the scene after the shooting. He's in custody, and police are recommending charges to the district attorney's office.
All right, Kendall Key is reporting live for us tonight near Teutonia and Green.
The woman lying beside Giovonni that night wasn't just another victim in a tragic shooting. She was a mother, a partner, and someone who was only months away from bringing another life into the world. Mya Tolbert was 7 months pregnant. Think about that for a moment. While investigators would later describe this as a double homicide, many people in the community saw it as something even more devastating. 3 lives were lost that night. Family members later spoke about who Mya really was beyond the headlines. She wasn't just the pregnant woman in the story. She was someone who loved her family deeply. People who knew her describe her as caring, warm, and focused on building a life with Giovonni and their children. The couple had already been raising kids together, and this new baby was supposed to be another joyful chapter in their lives. They had plans for the future, plans for their growing family, and the small, everyday moments that come with raising children. And that's why this story hits differently, because nothing about that night suggested that it would end in tragedy. According to what family members later shared, Giovonni wasn't looking for a fight when he stepped outside. In fact, people close to him say he wasn't the type of person who wanted confrontation. His goal was simple. His children were trying to sleep, and the music from a nearby home was loud. So he walked outside to talk to the neighbor. Now I want to ask you something. If you were in that situation, what would you have done? Would you have ignored it and tried to deal with the noise? Or would you have stepped outside to ask politely for the music to be turned down? For Giovonni, it seems like the second option made the most sense. But what happened next is where the story takes a disturbing turn. Investigators believe that after Giovonni approached the neighbor, the situation escalated quickly. Exactly what was said during those moments is still part of the investigation. But the interaction did not stay calm. At some point during the confrontation, a weapon was pulled. Gunfire followed. Neighbors nearby reported hearing several shots break the quiet of the night. In neighborhoods like this, that sound changes everything. Lights come on in windows. People start looking outside, trying to understand what just happened. Within minutes, emergency calls began coming in. When officers arrived at the scene near Green Tree Road and Darien Street in Milwaukee, the situation was already critical. Giovonni McVicker and Mya Tolbert had both been shot. Despite the quick response from emergency crews, neither of them survived their injuries. For the families involved, the shock was immediate and overwhelming. One moment they were living normal lives, and the next they were receiving the kind of phone call no family ever wants to get. The call that tells you someone you love is gone. And in this case, the loss felt even heavier, because behind the police reports and headlines were children who had just lost both of their parents in a single night. As investigators secured the scene and began collecting evidence, another major development would happen quickly. Police identified a suspect. According to authorities, a 27-year-old man, believed to be the neighbor involved in the confrontation, was taken into custody not long after shooting. But that discovery raised another chilling question. What could possibly make someone respond to a simple request with deadly violence? And as detectives started digging deeper into the timeline of that night, the answers would begin to reveal just how fragile everyday moments can really be.
People shot and killed overnight, including a pregnant woman. Family says it was all because they asked a neighbor to turn down their music. One of the victims killed near Teutonia and Green Tree was Giovonni McVicker. Our Brendan Jones talked with McVicker's family, who say this was a senseless act of violence.
Wasn't supposed to happen. Yeah. We love you so much.
Disbelief for the family of Giovonni McVicker as late Monday night, they learned he and his girlfriend Mya Tolbert had been shot and killed. Mya was 7 months pregnant. It would have been the couple's third child together.
It's tough to see your brother at 4 o'clock and then by 9 o'clock you get a call that he's no longer here. How? I was just with him. I was just with my brother.
Family saying it was a senseless act.
This all happened over him simply asking for them to turn the music down. So it's senseless. This is really heartbreaking for us.
Family says Giovonni was trying to get his kids to sleep when he asked a neighbor to turn down the music. They say the 27-year-old neighbor was later arrested. Now all the family has is memories, ones they'll hold on to tight.
He always made us feel welcome and warm. He always got the family together.
Mya was energy. She matched my brother. I'm just going to say that they matched each other energy. And they loved each other for years.
The family says they hope for a resolution in the courtroom.
Just hope that justice is served, and we hope that he get the time that he deserved. Life. He took 3 lives, and senseless. It was overkill. The way he did my little cousin was horrible.
The 27-year-old suspect has not been formally charged yet, but police have referred charges to the district attorney's office. In Milwaukee, Brendan Jones, TMJ4 News.
As the investigation moved forward, police began trying to reconstruct exactly what happened in those short but critical minutes before the gunshots. Officers spoke with neighbors, gathered statements, and examined the scene carefully. In cases like this, every detail matters. Where people were standing, what words might have been exchanged, how the confrontation escalated so quickly. What authorities confirmed early on was that a 27-year-old man, believed to be the neighbor involved in the dispute, had been taken into custody after the shooting. The case would later be forwarded to prosecutors as investigators continued building the timeline. But even with an arrest, the questions surrounding that night didn't go away. For the families of Giovonni McVicker and Mya Tolbert, nothing could undo what had already happened. Loved ones described Giovonni as someone who was dedicated to being a father, the kind of man who tried to keep things steady for his children. People close to him said he cared deeply about protecting his family and creating a peaceful home. And Mya Tolbert was remembered as someone who brought warmth into the lives of people around her. Friends say she had a gentle personality and was excited about becoming a mother again. Being 7 months pregnant meant she had already begun preparing for the arrival of her baby. Family members later said the couple had been looking forward to that moment together. Instead, the future they were planning disappeared in a matter of seconds. The tragedy also left behind children who would now grow up without both of their parents. That reality is something the families continue to struggle with as they try to process what happened. And when people in the community heard about the details, many described the situation the same way. Senseless. Because when you step back and look at the beginning of the story, it didn't start with violence. It started with something ordinary. A father wanting his kids to sleep. A simple conversation between neighbors. But somehow that moment spiraled into a deadly confrontation that ended multiple lives. Cases like this force us to confront uncomfortable questions about anger, impulse, and a fragile line between everyday disagreements and irreversible consequences. Think about it for a moment. How many times have people argued with neighbors over noise, parking, or small misunderstandings? Those situations happen everywhere. Most of the time, they end with a few words, maybe some frustration, and then life moves on. But this time, life didn't move on. This time, a conversation turned into gunfire. And now a community is left trying to understand how something so small could lead to something so devastating. Which brings us to the deeper questions behind this case. What happens in someone's mind in those few seconds when anger takes over? How does a disagreement escalate so quickly that there's no turning back? And could anything have been done to stop it before those shots were fired? I want to hear what you think about this case. Do you believe situations like this are the result of a single moment of anger? Or do you think conflicts like this build up over time before they finally explode? And most importantly, what do you think could prevent tragedies like this from happening again? Share your thoughts in the comments because discussions like this matter. And if you want to continue exploring stories that make us think deeper about crime, human behavior, and the choices people make, make sure you like the video, subscribe, and click the bell so you never miss another case here on Shadow Crime.